go with economic and social development. Now we know when it comes to civil service examination, it is about national, international, economic and social development, environment, ecology, and science and technology. Yesterday we discussed national, international, and environment ecology. That takes around 45% of the total questions. Now we are going to discuss economic and social development and science and technology. That takes around 30% of the total question. It's cover nearby 70 to 75%. Rest 25% of the questions comes from history and polity. 25 to 30% comes from history and polity. Now economic and social development, in a relaxed manner, once again I am telling the most important aspect of UPSC is survey, analyze, study, and revise. There is no compromise on that. If you do compromise on that, then there will be trouble in total understanding and the total study of your examination. You have to do your survey and you have to do your analyze, then you should go with your study and revise. And the first two parts, the survey and analyze, I am doing it for you. Studying and revising, I can't do it for you. So this survey and analyze, take it in that particular spirit. So survey and analyze the previous questions, nature and character, then study and revise the current affairs with that understanding. That's very, very important. Now let's come to 2017. When it comes to 2017, now as like I mentioned in earlier sessions, I'll be giving the slides, don't worry about that. What's your job is relaxedly sitting and listening to the topics and internalizing the topics with complete clarity. Okay, this is the nature in which UPSC is framing, and this is the nature in which UPSC framed the question. That's very, very important. Now 2017, when we come, there were 20 topics from which UPSC framed the questions. Let's have a look over that 20 topics. It was prior learning scheme, Smart India Hackathon 2017, GDP of India, Monetary Policy Committee, the Trade Dispute Act of 1929. And once again, understand, when I tell this topic in our future sessions, in our current affair discussion, we'll be getting back to these questions once again, because it is very, very important to understand what UPSC framed from this topic. At the same time, it's very, very important to understand what is the topic is about, because our broad understanding gives answers in the exam hall with elimination technique, with intelligent elimination. So back to our discussion, prior learning scheme, Smart India Hackathon 2017, GDP of India, Monetary Policy Committee, Trade Dispute Act of 1929, advantages of implementing goods and service tax, National Payment Corporation of India, NPCI, Bureau of Indian Standard, BIS and ACMARC, National Agriculture Market Scheme, National Intellectual Property Rights Policy, Quality Council of India, Small Finance Banks, Unified Payment Interface, National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, National Skill Qualification Framework, National Career Service, Scheme for Sustainable Structure of Stressed Assets, Domestic Content Requirement, Soil Health Card Scheme, Liberalization of Economic Policy in 1991. So you might have noticed one thing. None of the question is asking what is what in related to the fundamentals of economics, but they have asking two things. One is the practical application of the fundamentals, which is very, very important in 2020's perspective. Second one is current affair related. Here most of the questions are current affairs like. Now once again, I'll just rush through prior learning scheme, Smart India Hackathon, GDP of India, Monetary Policy Committee, the Trade Dispute Act of 1929. When you listen to all this, you have to think from one more line, and that line is, you should think whether your thinking, whether your reading is going in direct. Advantages of implementing goods and service tax, National Payment Corporation of India, Bureau of Indian Standards and ACMARC, National Agriculture Market Scheme, National Intellectual Property Rights Policy, Quality Council of India, Small Finance Banks, Unified Payment Interface, National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, National Skills Qualification Framework, National Career Service, Scheme for Sustainable Structure of Stressed Assets, Domestic Content Requirement, soil health card scheme, liberalization of economic policies in 1991. Now, when it comes to 2018, you might be noticing the questions are around, very clear to economic and social development. Questions are around 20. In 2018, there are 17 questions. And from the topic, merchant discount rate, equalization tax of 6% on online advertisement services, fiscal responsibility and budget management, FRBM, the quantity of imported edible oils, ATMs in India, legal tender money, if a commodity is provided free to the public, absolute and per capita real GNP, human capital formation, high saving economy, treasury bills, partnership for action on green economy, capital adequacy ratio, BEAM app, Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, public sector banking in India, goods accepted under GST. So these all were the 17 questions UPSC asked, or these all were the 17 topics from which UPSC asked questions. Once again, it's important to know what is this topic is about. At the same time, how UPSC framed questions from this topic. And we'll be relating this trend with 2020 as like we had done in our last session. And when you listen relaxedly, you should think whether my reading, whether my understanding is going in parallel to all these topics. That is very important. And 2019, there were 21 topics. Oh, from 21 topics, UPSC asked the questions. Global Competitiveness Report, Adult Innovation Mission, Official Poverty Lines, Industrial Employment Standing Order, Central Amendment Rules 2018, the Service Area Approach, India's External Debt, Asset of Commercial Bank in India, Contributor or Contributors to Reducing the Risk of Currency Crisis, Registered Foreign Portfolio Investors, Intercredit Agreement, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, the Chairman of Public Sector Banks, India's 5-year plans, the monetary multiplier in an economy or the money multiplier in an economy, storage of payment system data, minimum support price and bonus. Minimum support price and bonus, you should keep it in your mind because UPSC asks n number of questions from minimum support price, either in geography or in economy from national perspective, because MSP and agriculture always a significant area from prelims and mains perspective. Social capital, purchasing power parity, highest import in terms of value in the last 5 years, measures taken to stop the slide of Indian rupee, and coal sector of India. So 2017, 18, and 19, I conveyed the topics from which UPSC framed the questions. And it's our duty to check what's the nature and character of 2020 topics and the questions. Later, when we discuss the questions of 2017, 18, and 19 in one session, then the complete clarity will be there. That means how UPSC is framing and what is the trend and your approach towards 2021 and 22, those who are looking for, will be absolutely clear. Now let's look to 2020. And when it comes to 2020 analysis, understand, as like I mentioned, the practical application questions were high. At the same time, current affair related questions were more. So rather than clear current affairs and conventional static, it was into application and at the same time current affairs related. So 2020, once again, 19 topics. So as like I mentioned, it is strictly around 20 topics. And I told one more thing yesterday. When you keep economic and social development and environment ecology together, it takes around 40, in some occasion more than 40. In some rare years, it took nearby 50 also. That is economic and social development, environment ecology are the two areas which is going to play a very decisive role. And what normally students do, they study history, they study polity very hard, and they go for the exam. They skip environment. I know some fundamentals, I know economic and social development. They perform very well in that particular area, but it takes around 25 to 30. The core areas, national, international, especially environment, ecology, and economic social development, should be there in your mind. Let's go to 2020. Listen the questions. I'm going in a slow pace. If another global financial crisis happens in the near future, look the beauty of the question. I'll discuss the question also. I'm just telling the topic. If another global financial crisis happens in the near future, that was one topic. Second topic was, if you withdraw 1 lakh from your in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy. Third one is gold tranche or gold tranche, reserve tranche. That particular term, if you're getting it, your reading is right. If you're getting that particular reserve tranche or refer tranche in your reading, that's right, you are in the right track. Third one, the macroeconomic framework statement. Fifth one, public investment in agriculture. Sixth one, interest coverage ratio of a firm in India. Seventh one, factors, policies were affecting the price of rice in India in the recent past. Eighth, Kisan credit card scheme and short-term credit support given to farmers. Ninth one, consumer price index CPI and wholesale price index. 10th one, again I'm telling minimum support price, but the question as it is different this year. 11th one, commercial paper, certificate of deposit, call money, zero coupon bonds. If your reading is to the point, this is one litmus test you can think or you can do. If you're very clear, or if you heard about commercial paper, if you heard about certificate of deposit, if you heard about call money and zero coupon bonds in your reading, your track of reading is right. Foreign direct investment in India, with reference to the international trade of India at the present. In the context of the Indian economy, non-financial debt includes trade-related investment measures, that is TRIMS, RBI's expansionist monetary policy, Indian economy after the 1991, district central cooperative banks, DCCBs, and cyber insurance. These were the 19 topics from which UPSC framed the questions. So we had to relax, look at the same time in a very good pace. We had to look the 19 question and from which part they asked the question. The 19 topics, once again I'm repeating. Those who are into civil service preparation, you can do one more thing. You are at your home or at your studio, you can sit and read with me, no problem, because aloud you can read, no problem, because your heart and brain knows something is very serious, is the aspirant is reading. Let me internalize that, because internalizing is important in civil service examination. When you look into a newspaper, getting the correct content, this is supposed to be read for UPSC. If another global financial crisis happens in the near future, if you withdraw 1 lakh from your in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy. Gold tranche, reserve tranche, the macroeconomic framework statement, public investment in agriculture, interest coverage ratio for firm in India, factors, policies were affecting the price of rice in India in the recent past, Kisan credit card scheme and short-term credit support given to farmers, consumer price index and wholesale price index, minimum support price MSP, commercial paper, certificate of deposit, call money and zero coupon bonds, foreign direct investment in India, with reference to the international trade of India at present. In the context of the Indian economy, non-financial debt includes trade-related investment measures, TRIMS, RBI's expansionist monetary policy, Indian economy after the 1991, district central cooperative banks, DCCBs, and cyber insurance. Let's get into the questions. First question, it has nothing to do with current affairs. It is nothing to do with static area. It is clear application. An application with the total understanding of economic and social development or total understanding of world economy. If another global financial crisis happens in the near future, which of the following action or policies are most likely to give some immunity to India? Not depending on the short-term foreign borrowing, opening up to more foreign banks, maintaining full capital account convertibility. So those who have an idea about what is world financial crisis, what is world global meltdown, they can clearly come to this particular answer here: one only, one and two only, three only, one, two, and three. So if you come to the discussion, not depending on the short-term foreign borrowing, that is a thing one only, two and three, it is not right. And explanation part I am not looking into right now. And because since it is practical application, later we can discuss. If you withdraw 1 lakh from you in cash from your demand deposit account at your bank, the immediate effect on aggregate money supply in the economy will be to leave it unchanged. So obviously it is directly because the M won't change. It is practical application. From these two questions, understand one thing. I selected these two questions. You will get 3 to 4 questions maximum in this level, where you had to think, what is its application in the economy? What is the application of that particular question personally on you? Second question. If global financial meltdown happen, what happens? If you withdraw cash, what happens? Now let's come to the third question. Second question answer I told to leave it unchanged because it is, everybody knows that. Now here I have marked it directly. A gold tranche, reserve tranche refers to a credit system granted by IMF to its members. UPSC asks these questions directly, maybe to check who is having the right reading. Because to get this particular question, gold tranche, reserve tranche refers to, the reading should be perfect. I'll come to the topics or the newspaper cutting. It was not an international discussion related to India. In November 2019 onwards, there was discussion related to the same, but it was related to IMF and Sri Lanka. IMF approves release of $164 million tranche to Sri Lanka, says economy slowly recovering. The Hindu 2nd November 2019, from there it is continuing. 2019 means the 2019 preliminary examination finished, main examination also, then the next trend is going on. That is 2020 preparation is very serious. Sri Lankan Air Force officers and clergy stand outside St. Anthony's Shrine a day after a blast in Colombo, Sri Lanka. This was the picture. And in that, it was neatly given in the first passage itself, or the first paragraph itself. The global lender urged authorities to show fiscal discipline as the island nation head into a presidential poll later this month. The International Monetary Fund approved the release of 6th tranche of a $1.5 billion loan program for Sri Lanka. If a person who is having the clarity, IMF, research tranche, Sri Lanka, he can directly come to the answer there, because it's clearly given whether it is World Bank or a central bank or WTO or IMF. If a person is having the right reading, he can directly tell, okay, it is research tranche, it is IMF. And this was the discussion. Let's come to the fourth question. It's also direct, but once again, it is not an easy question. Along with the budget, the finance minister also places other document before the parliament, which includes the macroeconomic framework statement. Since it included the macroeconomic framework statement, I added this question to economic and social development. If not, I'll be adding this to national. The macroeconomic framework statement, the aforesaid document is presented because this mandated by long-standing parliamentary convention, Article 112 and Article 110 clause 1 of the Constitution of India, Article 114 of the Constitution of India, provision of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. And those who are into the central government PIB, for them it is very easy. There is nothing to think. It is provision of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act 2003. Why? Because there was a post in 2020 February. February 1st February 2020 by PIB, by Ministry of Finance, and it was like this: macroeconomic framework statement, MFS, the same. 2020-2021 predict rebound in GDP growth from the first quarter of 2020-2021. What is the basic work of an aspirant when he get a detail from the Ministry of Finance in connection with macroeconomic framework statement MSF 2021 predict rebound in GDP growth from first quarter of 2020-2021? A student should check what is MSF. A student should read what is MSF, what is macroeconomic framework statement. At the same time, in the related newspaper in Business Standard, they have given the explanation of what is macroeconomic framework statement in the newspaper as like a classroom note. It was very clearly given. Every year, a macroeconomic framework statement is presented before Parliament at the time of Union Budget presentation. This is under Section 3, Clause 5 of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management FRBM Act 2003. This is what the in the newspaper. So what I am trying to tell, Ministry of Finance, 1st February 2020, gave macroeconomic framework statement. UPSC on 4th October 2020 asked the aforesaid document is presented because this is mandated by. Now it is very clear this is mandated by provision of the fiscal responsibility. And how to get into macroeconomic framework statement by reading PIB, how to get to the question by reading what is macroeconomic framework. If you read what is macroeconomic framework by sitting for 10 minutes, the first paragraph will be directly telling it is under the section of the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act. That reading as such is important. At the same time, in business line, right from 5th July onwards, there was a lot of discussions related to macroeconomic framework, budget related discussions were there. In India, next question, in India, which of the following can be considered as a public investment in agriculture? Fixing minimum support price for agriculture produce of all crops, computerization of primary agriculture credit societies, social capital development, free electricity supply to farmers, waiver of agricultural loans by the banking system, setting up of cold storage facility by the government. A very significant and very good practical question. 1, 2, and 5, 1, 3, 4, and 5, 2, 3, and 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In our future sessions, we'll be using the elimination technique also in this. It's easy to get into the answer 2, 3, and 6. That is computerization of primary agriculture credit society, social capital development, setting up of cold storage facilities by the government. So here, I don't have anything to connect with current affairs. It is, I told, the practical application. What is public investment in agriculture and what is its application as such? Next is, what is the importance of the term interest coverage ratio of a firm in India? So in my total discussion, I discussed 3 questions which is related to application. Out of this total 6 questions, 3 were related to application, and there will be 1 more question related to clear application. And keep that in your mind. It's very, very important. So what is the requirement of that? You should listen to a good faculty who is having practical understanding of economics, Indian and world economics, who can clearly tell what is GDP, what is inflation, what is deflation, what is stagflation, what will happen when there is stagflation, what will happen whether there is hyperinflation, practical application. What is global financial meltdown and what will happen to the economy if the global financial meltdown happens, what happens to India, the practical discussion you should relaxly internalize, go to the exam hall, attend. Other than that, 75% of the question will be in this manner. What is the importance of the term interest coverage ratio of a firm in India? It helps in understanding the present risk of the firm that a bank is going to give loan to. It helps in evaluating the emerging risk of a firm that a bank is going to give loan to. The higher a borrowing firm's level of interest coverage ratio, the worse is its ability to service its debt. Interest coverage ratio of a firm, that is not an easy term. If you read newspaper, you come across with the term more number of times. Other than that, you can rate to interest coverage ratio in a normal book most of the time. Select the correct answer using the code given below. 1 and 2, 2 only, 1 and 3, 1, 2 and 3, and the answer is 1 and 2. Now I'll come to the newspaper. The finance minister, Sitharaman, madam, to meet bankers on loan recast on Thursday. So our finance minister, madam's photo was there on 30th August 2020. In that, there was a big article. The finance minister will review the implementation of the resolution framework for COVID-19 related stress in bank loans. And it is worth reading because as a UPSC aspirant, you should read the direct talk of the finance minister of our country or the explanation given by our finance minister. The news was the finance minister will review the implementation of the resolution framework for COVID-19 related stress in the bank loans. In that, the 7th paragraph was, besides the KV committee is working on recommendations on financial parameters like debt service, coverage ratio, debt equity ratio, post resolution, and interest coverage ratio for recasting corporate loans. So UPSC as such conveyed one thing: listen to the finance minister, listen to the terms, and study the terms.